Joe Show with me, Joe. It's Window Wandering Wednesday, the show where we look out windows from around the world and discuss the latest news in technology, startups, and science. I'm excited to see where today takes us.
It's the Joe Show.
Welcome back to Window Wandering Wednesday. You heard the idea of the show here. I've got some great stories for you planned today. As a reminder, if you like my show, hit that subscribe button and mash that bell to get a notification every time I upload a new video, or subscribe if you're listening to this on the podcast form. Let's hop right into our windows and our headlines today, because man, I actually am really excited about this week. For some reason, I feel like it's going to be good. We got the news this week that Joe Biden is taking over the presidency, and things feel like they can return to semi-normal states around the world with Donald Trump out of the White House, though it is still not until January when that really happens. But let's see here where our first window takes us and where our first headline goes. Our first window today is in Saskatchewan, Canada. It's Alan's window in Mortlack, Saskatchewan, Canada. It's an interesting window because there's a little bit of a theme going on here. It is a window that has a screen on it. It's very close to the actual window. It's open. It's a sunny day. You can see kind of a kid's pool barely through the screen and the blurriness of the camera, but sitting on the windowsill here where you would actually, on the latch where you would open the window, is a tiny red plastic truck. So this was clearly set up for some sort of, for this website, probably for this window swapping website here. It's very cute that they went as far as putting a little red truck here. Really doesn't set the stage for our first story, but I like it regardless. It's the first window I've seen where they put a little bit of effort into making it look a little fun. So the thing I'm going to start with is technically science news, but could also be big tech. And it's a story about kombucha. If you're not familiar with kombucha, it's one of my favorite beverages that they don't have here in Germany, where I currently live. Over the past, I want to say 7 years in the USA, kombucha really exploded, especially with a brand called GTS. That's GTS. I don't know what GTS stands for. It's like great thinking something or something like that. I don't know. But what kombucha is, it's a bacterial, it's a probiotic beverage. So it's got healthy bacteria in it that help you digest food. And they make it similar to beer. There's like kind of a brewing process. They also use a seed called a SCOBY, which is the bacteria starter kit. And it's fermented tea. So they ferment the tea and then they add flavor to it. And voila, you have kombucha. I used to drink a Gingerade one almost every day when I was living in the United States. They are fantastic. They really did wonders for my my gut and for my digestion. And also for being real, for pooping. I had the greatest poops when I was taking kombucha, but you've got to be careful because if you pick the wrong one, because it is a live beverage, a functional beverage, if it doesn't work well with your system, with however your genes and your bacterial, your microbiome have played out, you can actually go the opposite direction and get a nice little stomach ache going on, which there were two brands that whenever I had them always caused me discomfort. So I just stuck with the GTS brand because I knew that it was working well for my system. So the headline says kombucha was just the beginning. This designer wants to create a whole bacteria-based food industry. Or functional food industry, I'd say. Probably not just bacteria-based, but it's going to be functional. Plurality Now is a conceptual restaurant that offers a menu of food derived from bacterial cultures. Its food is made solely through fermentation and molding techniques. Marek Golgoski created the restaurant to introduce new foods to people to shift them away from a reliance on industrial agriculture and bring an awareness to how bacteria within people can affect the nutrients and calories they absorb from food, hence your microbiome. Probiotics such as yogurt and more recently kombucha, as I just mentioned, have already spread the awareness of these ideas. The global probiotics market is currently expected to grow to 78.3 billion in 2026, from the current 47.1 billion in 2018 and 2019. Pretty interesting. I know nothing about Plurality Now. From what I just read here, it sounds like a sit-down restaurant that has a menu full of bacterial-influenced or fermented-type foods. So kombucha, there's something in Japan called natto, which is fermented soybeans, that, I'm going to be real with you guys right now, is disgusting. It smells like garbage and does not taste any different, but for some reason there's a certain niche of Japanese people that love it. It's called natto. You can look it up, but I assume that the whole beverage will have things like that, or maybe even pickled things like kimchi from South Korea, which on the other side of things, in my opinion, is delicious. So that's pretty cool. I love a kombucha, so I'm looking forward to where Plurality Now goes, and if you see one near you, now you know about it. It's a bacterial food chain, I guess. Plurality Now in Saskatchewan, Canada. Let's grab a new window here. Let me know what you think about the bacterial stuff. Have you tried kombucha? Did they have it near you, wherever you are at in the world? And if yes, how do you like it? How does it taste? Does it help with your digestion? Next up, we've got David's Window over in Ardisburg, Scotland. Hey, aye laddie. Look at me, look at me backyard, laddie. I've got some plants on the left-hand side. And a big bird feeder that looks like it. I'm so bad at an Irish accent. Laddie. And a big bird feeder that looked like it was for my golden retriever. Yeah, I don't have an Irish accent. I'd have to listen to it a couple times. It's like Sean Connery, right? But here we are in Ardishack, Scotland. Pretty nice backyard, as I mentioned. There's a greenhouse on the left-hand side with some pots and some plants. And then there's the top rack has pots, typical brown pots with green plants in it. And the rack below it just has a single rock on it, a single gray rock. I wonder if that's to add weight to keep it down so that the wind doesn't take it away. And then otherwise, it looks like a nice garden, backyard, lots of things growing, lots of things hanging, lots of big plastic pots full of plants. And the centerpiece is a bird feeder that has multiple rungs with different bird feed. And then, like I said, there's one that must be a hanging water bowl that looks like it would be for a dog. And actually, I think there are paw prints on the side of the thing that's hanging from the bird feeder. So yeah, it's actually a silver dog bowl that has water in it. Interesting water out of Scotland. Let's see where the headline takes us, though. I never had a chance to visit Scotland myself. If you're from Scotland, of course, let me know. But I doubt that anyone from Scotland is seeing this. Let's see here if we can find something that is very interesting. China leapfrogs world with first 6G experimental satellite. So we all know that 5G is currently coming and that 6G is coming soon after 5G. That'll be the next generation of things is 5G or 6G, but for some reason I feel like we're skipping over 5G. Like 5G is barely here and we're like, let's talk about 6 and 7G. But what's China up to? Of course, they're pushing innovation as always. China sent a 6G satellite into space on top of a long Mach 6 carrier rocket from the Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center. The satellite will be used to verify the performance of 6G technology in space. The final frontier. 6G is expected to be over 100 times faster than its predecessor, allowing lossless transmissions over long distances with less power. That's actually not how I viewed... Oh, 6G. That's right. We're talking about 6G. 5G is short distances over short... is lossless transmissions over short distances. So 6G is looking to do long distances with less power with the same amount of transmission, lossless. The satellite has a system to provide abundant satellite images and data. There are still many technical hurdles to overcome before 6G becomes commercially available. As I mentioned, we don't even really have 5G commercially available, but I guess it's cool that we're already starting to experiment with 6G. Right on you, China, get it. Launch those satellites, I guess. I'm going to do some rapid fire ones here. McDonald's confirms creation of McPlant plant-based burger and unveils a new crispy chicken sandwich, which will debut in 2021. So if you're a McDonald's fan, they now have the McPlant, which will be a plant-based burger. It's really cool to see all these fast food chains really embracing the plant-based diet or plant-based alternatives like the Impossible Burger or Beyond Meat. I believe White Castle is working with Beyond Meat, and that they have the Impossible Whopper, so Burger King is working with Impossible Foods. All of them honestly are pretty good. I used to eat one every week when I was doing a certain diet, and I loved it. It was something I looked forward to. They're tasty. Honestly, I could eat it instead of a burger. I don't really need a burger. I generally stay away from a lot of red meat anyways. I stick to white meat like chicken, turkey, and fish. So yeah, no real loss for me to have these plant-based burgers. Elon Musk's companies have been making news recently. Boring Company, the one that is digging tunnels, which I love the name, the Boring Company, because it sounds boring, but also they're doing boring by digging tunnels. Has set up operations in Austin, Texas. A lot of people moving over to Austin, Texas. A lot of comedians looking to move over to Austin, Texas. Joe Rogan just moved there. Also, Elon Musk this week, but Tesla put out the Tesla Tequila. They're probably sold out about it now, but he is very good at creating products that get people excited. The bottle looked like the Tesla Lightning Bolt filled with tequila. I mean, we all remember the Boring Company's flamethrower, and he also did some other one, like with hats, I think. Some hats for one of his other companies, SpaceX hats or something. Guy, I saw a comment made by somebody that said that he's the world's greatest dropshipper, which is actually pretty funny. But if you get your hands on some Tesla tequila, let me know. Maybe I should have bought some and did a little technology review of it on my show. And then also Virgin Hyperloop makes an important milestone, the first human passenger test. So the Virgin Hyperloop conducted its first ultra-fast transportation test with real human passengers this past Sunday with a 500-meter track at 100 miles per hour. I believe they're over in Las Vegas, in Nevada. So that's pretty cool. Pretty soon, instead of planes, we might be using these tunnels to shoot through the earth, like those tubes at the banks that I used to see when you would drive up to give them money, and they'd send over a tube, like in a pneumatic chute, I guess, where this capsule would come over, you'd unscrew it, you'd put in your check, you'd put it back on, you'd place it there, and then it would shoot back over to them. And it reminds me of that, but with humans inside instead of your bank check, which is pretty fun. So congratulations to Virgin Hyperloop. I don't know if they have footage of that, but I'm sure that you could look it up if you wanted to. Let's say goodbye to Scotland and move on to somewhere new. What do we got for me? Window swap. We've got Santa Cruz, USA, Lonnie's window. Wonder where Lonnie's gonna take us here. Lonnie, come on, Santa Cruz, load up. Load up. Where are we going here? Wow, this is like being in a fire watchtower in the middle of a forest. We have a very high up view of the forest, and there's a deck below us with some chairs and a folded umbrella, but it's very wide open, very green. It is just the rolling hills of Santa Cruz. Beautiful, gorgeous day outside. Looks to be very bright in the sky. Can't tell if it's really blue or if it's just overcast, but yeah, super nice window here to take us into a new story about what? This just caught my eye. On Apple's piss poor documentation. Apple provides developers with tools, many of which are fairly straightforward to use. However, sometimes developers run into problems that require documentation, and that's when they find out how bad Apple's documentation really is. There could be many reasons as to why Apple might have bad documentation, but it is definitely a problem that should be fixed. Dear Apple, fix your quote, piss poor documentation. I wonder where the term piss poor comes from. I think it has something to do with like when you're poor, you don't have a pot to piss in, so you're piss poor because you can't piss into something luxurious. I'm not really sure how that connects, but yeah, piss poor. If anyone knows the history of the term piss poor, I don't know why you would. Let me know in the comments. Sometimes I actually get history lessons in my comments section here on YouTube or on the podcast. You can send it to hijoeshow@gmail.com, of course. Let's see here. There was actually some stuff that I looked up in preparation for this that I thought was really cool. One story that actually really got me excited here is it says world's first for energy. Dutch brewery burns iron as a clean, recyclable fuel source, which already, when you are talking about a clean source, so it's not carbon emitting, and recyclable meaning that we can reuse it, like a plastic bottle we can reuse over and over and over again, or a glass bottle you can reuse over and over and over again. We're getting in some really exciting territory. And then also it sounds like it is somehow related to beer, everyone's favorite delicious beverage to get you messed up. What can we find out from this? How are those giving us the happy juice making a reusable green energy source out of iron? It says if burning metal powder as fuel sounds strange, the next part of the process will be even more surprising. Oh, let me jump back one paragraph. Many industries use heat-intensive processes that generally require the burning of fossil fuels, but a surprising green fuel alternative is emerging in the form of metal powders. Ground very fine like espresso, yum yum. Cheap iron powder burns readily at high temperatures, releasing energy as it oxidizes in a process that emits no carbon and produces easily collectible rust, also known as iron oxide, as its only emission. So what's happening here, just from this first paragraph, is they're taking something like iron, grounding it up very fine like espresso powder, and then burning it, and as a result it releases energy. That fire is energy being released that we can capture, and the process emits no carbon, so it is carbon neutral, and it produces an easily collectible rust or an iron oxide as its only emission. So as it's burning, it's making this rust, and then when it finishes, we can, I guess, sweep up that rust and collect it to make to have iron oxide. And then we get into the next paragraph. If burning metal powder as fuel sounds strange, the next part of the process will be even more surprising. That rust can be regenerated straight back into iron powder with the application of electricity? What? This is nuts. I mean, that electricity might take some carbon to make, unfortunately, unless it comes from like solar or from wind or even water. But that's crazy. So they sweep up this iron oxide and then they zap it with electricity, and then it is regenerated back into iron powder. That's crazy. Yeah, and they say if you do this using solar, wind, or other zero carbon power generation systems, you end up with a totally carbon-free cycle. That is crazy. I mean, we talk about the perpetual motion machine where we could just have free energy and then it would never run out of energy. It just created energy as it moves. It's called the perpetual motion machine. It's like the holy grail. And this kind of sounds like a perpetual motion machine for energy emission and creation. This is nuts. The iron acts as kind of a clean battery for combustion processes, charging up via one of a number of means, including electrolysis and discharging in flames and heat. So you have to recharge the battery, the quote battery, the powder, using electrolysis, using electricity, and then we discharge the energy and capture it or use it using flames and heat. I wonder what sort of processes we can potentially make using this. It sounds like that's exactly what we do with cars though. We heat up the oil to discharge the energy, and then as a result, we have this emission of carbon. And now, instead of adding gas into our car, we could just dump a powder of an iron powder into the car, combust it like we were normally, and then shock it using some sort of, I don't know, kinetic built up energy that we get from just the rolling motion of the car itself, to then zap it back into iron powder and somehow reload it into the hopper to then shoot back into the combustion, and you can make some sort of cycle that is almost self-feeding. I mean, I don't know if that's actually a thing that could happen, but it sounds doable based on what is being said here. So that's really cool. Congratulations to the Swinkels family brewers in the Netherlands to be the first business in the world to put the process to work at an industrial scale. The company's been working with the Metal Powder Consortium and researchers at TU Eindhoven to install a cyclical iron fuel system at its brewery, Brewery, that's capable of providing all the heat necessary for some 15 million glasses of beer a year. That's a lot of beer that is now carbon neutral, completely zero emissions to brew this beer. I think more industries need to take note of this. That is very cool. Congratulations to them. Very interesting technology. I've actually got a cousin who's into brewing. I'm going to forward this story to him, and perhaps he can even bring it over to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's really cool. Energy is a huge problem, and it sounds like these people have found a way to make a very clean energy cycle. I mean, if they're producing that many glasses of beer a year using this, it's very viable at an industrial scale. Let's see here. So let's move on to something new. We're going to say goodbye to Santa Cruz, but that is a great story and it's good for the world. Lonnie's window, see you later. Ivan's window here in Barbasian, London. Over here in London, Barbasian, London. Gonna have a tea time, no? Cheerio, lad. Not laddie is Scottish, no. Oh, well, what have we got here? It's a nice window overlooking what seems to be a hotel room or apartment complex. There's so many apartments here. Ivan's got one of the apartments. It's almost Australian. It's like half Australian, half British. But here it's pretty much just an apartment. You're looking over. Yeah, I can't even. That's all I can describe it as. It looks like a hotel, like lobby or not lobby, plaza. With just rooms stacked on top of each other with balconies outside, but they're clearly apartments. Looks like an overcast day. Interesting window. I don't know if I'd want to live in one of these places, but it looks very effective. Also reminds me of China. China loves concrete, and this looks like something that would have been built in China, but without the balconies. For some reason, they don't like balconies over in China. But yeah, so here's London. Another story that really stood out to me is that developers now have to submit their app's privacy details to Apple. And what happens then is when you open up a new app, you get like a little, what looks like a nutrition label, you could call it. They're calling it a data label, I think, or a privacy label. And it has to tell you exactly all of the data that is being linked. And then I wonder if it also allows you to kind of opt out or control that as well. It looks like this. I'm going to swap over to it. Where is it? Somehow it closed. Oh, here we go. Here's what it looks like. The Apple's nutrition label, you could call it, data label. It says data being linked to you. The following data may be collected and linked to your accounts. It looks just like a pop-up, and then it lists all the different things that are being linked to this account through this app. Financial info, contacts, browsing history, location, identifiers, and then it also says data being used to track you, your location, other identifiers, and contact info, and then you can agree to it or not, but it gives you a nice visual way of knowing which data that app is being requested of you all in one place. I don't think I said that correctly. It gives you a visual it gives you a visual way to see all of the data that's being used to either collect you or track you. Oh my god, I cannot speak right now. You get it. You guys get it. It's a label that you can see visually instead of just clicking through yes. Do you want to agree to location? Do you want to agree to accessing your contacts? Do you want to agree to access to your camera, whatever it is, you can now see that, and if you don't agree to it, you cannot use that app. But it gives you a nice visual, and I think this is a good first step. It'll probably also be listed on the App Store where it has this nutrition label, like, hey, this is what this app will ask of you, which I think is good to give consumers a little bit more privacy back. So that's an interesting step that Apple is taking in data privacy. If you don't care about data privacy, you should. It's a big deal. A lot of people don't know how much they're actually being tracked and how much their data is worth. And these companies are really taking advantage of you. And now they've gone from like segment targeting to individual targeting, which is insane. I know over in Utah, USA, I don't have high hopes, but at the same time, I do have high hopes because Utah can be absolutely gorgeous. There's a place called, I believe, Snowflake, Utah that I went, and there was a brewery there. I think it's called Wasatch Brewery, that makes a jalapeno cream ale that is a chef's kiss of deliciousness. A little bit spicy, a little bit creamy, so good. And this is a nice Utah window, actually. You can see the mountains, which Utah is famous for. Very clear sky outside. Looks like a farm with some chickens. We got, a red little chicken coop here with one chicken prancing around a field with a white fence around it and a green shipping container in the back. This is clearly a farm, but it is actually a very, very, very cool view. Super chill view, I would say. And the last story here, though, where we're going to do this over here in Utah, is that Japanese scientists have created a robot that can be controlled with our mind. Yes, there is this Japanese company, I can't remember the name of it, Next New Track or New something like that. And what happens is they've made a headband that you can put on, and I've actually seen quite a few of these. It uses EEGs or electrical signals in your brain with like a sensor that's attached to your head. So you put on the headband, you look like an 80s exerciser, and come on girls, bounce with me. And that was Richard Simmons. Really bad Richard Simmons. But anyways, you put on the headband, it's got a sensor in it tracking electricity, and it's connected to an app via Bluetooth, and that app is communicating with a robot via the cloud, and it's a little mini Gundam that stands probably about 1 foot tall on your desk, maybe 1.5 feet tall on your desk, and can move, and then you train it using the app, and then you can start to control this robot via your mind. I've also seen things like this with Star Wars. So they made a Star Wars toy where you could force train yourself to levitate a ball and then move the ball through an obstacle course in a circle, and you were just using your mind to do it, so it's like you're really using the force. These are really interesting toys at this point, but there hasn't really been large-scale application of them yet. Although I watched the video for this NIU robot, and the one thing that got me thinking, actually, you know what, let's view it together, and I'll walk you through it because some of you are listening to this and not watching it. But here we are. Here is the NIU. We can see here. This is a programming course to learn how to use the thing. It's on the iPad. You can click start, and then you can see the Gundam robots here, which, as I mentioned, are about a foot tall, standing on your desk. We've got the interface that they're showing us, and it looks and sounds very much like the Wii U or the Wii menu. The sound effects are very similar. It just feels very Japanese to me. We can see the robot walking around here. And then they're going to, all the things that the robot can do. He's lifting up his arms like he's shooting guns out of his fingers. It kind of looks like Master Chief helmet over here. So now we have the menu, which I was mentioning, reminds me a lot of the Wii, and it just, if you can hear it, I think I'm gonna leave the sound on. It sounds even like the Wii menu. It's just very Japanese in design. So here's the headband. It's called the X-Brain. Puts it on his head. It is adjustable, and then they go from there. He pushes it on his forehead. It tells him to please calm down and take a breath here. Syncs the EEG, that electrical sensing, as I was mentioning. And now he is actually controlling the robot with his mind. He makes it stand at attention, so it kind of stands like a soldier, very, very stiff. And now he is moving one arm up, one arm down. It's giving you a little preview of the interface here and how connected he is to the bot. And so in watching this, it just got me thinking that, yes, this is at the moment a kid's toy. However, this is something that if we could perfect the technology and we could actually really control this robot very easily with our mind and make it do a lot of different things. I mean, at a big scale, Japan loves Gundam and loves big mechs. Like, that's their thing. They love big mechs. The Kaiju movie with Pacific Rim, where they have these big robots that are fighting big monsters. Japan loves big robots. And it may start with a 1 foot tall robot on our desks, but if this technology matures, you could be, someone could be controlling large, huge mechanical robots walking through the street as, like, I don't know, soldiers or defense mechanisms, or if we happen to have big huge monsters to fight big huge monsters. They would be extremely expensive. I have no idea who would actually build them, but this is moving in a direction where we can control stuff with our mind. And it seems like this company wants to start with these toy ones, but then move into like exoskeletons and then medium-sized robots that we can manipulate to do, I don't know, to build buildings, to patrol cities, to fight other battles, to who knows what. It's also applicable to other things, right? Like, you know, it may be interacting with our cell phone. We can just train it to, when we think, I want email, it just starts reading us our emails or something. This is just a very simple example, but instead of actually saying it out loud to Alexa, we could just think with a trigger, hey Alexa, or hey brain, hey phone, do this, whatever it is. What is this? Hey phone, what's the weather? And then it just, maybe if it even has there's like these bone conducting headphones where it vibrates the bone. You could have the bone conducting headphones combined with this headband, and then all of a sudden, bam, you've got some sort of telekinetic device that links you and your phone. So I think it's a really interesting technology. If we'll actually get there, and if it'll move at all, I don't know, but yeah, this is kind of a fun way to at least start people interacting with it by controlling a little robot, a little toy on their desk, even if it really can't do anything super exciting right now except move its arms up and down and salute like a soldier. And with that has been today's Window Wandering Wednesday show. I hope you learned something new. We learned about all sorts of cool stuff. Burning iron powder for unlimited recyclable energy, controlling robots with our brain, how Apple's documentation sucks, how SpaceX is moving to Austin, all sorts of interesting and poignant things. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy the show and you like learning about what's the newest and latest stuff, please hit subscribe to join me every Wednesday here on Window Wandering Wednesday, and I encourage you to check out some of my other videos. Each day has a different theme, so there's gotta be something that you enjoy in my video library at the moment. If you want to reach out to me, it's hijoeshow@gmail.com with cool stories or with suggestions. Otherwise, you can leave a comment on this video. I'll try to respond to all of them. As I'm pretty small right now, it's very easy for me to do so. Tell a friend about my show, post it somewhere on social media. All the help that I can get is extremely welcome. And then until next time, wander somewhere cool because I love you.